Minasan, okarinasai. Today we have one of the newer bands in Bangdream. Despite being so new, they have put out a lot of content in their short career. And as you'll hear me say multiple times throughout the video, they seem to be pushed as the new main characters of the whole franchise. Or at least prepping them to fully take over when Poppin' Party retires. MyGO, with 5 exclamation marks, probably to represent the 5 members, is an old girl band in the Bangdream franchise. And like with all other bands, the group consists of 5 members. Though in this case, the live action girls were not revealed to us right away. They always hid their faces, and it wasn't until the 4th live, over a year after their debut, that we actually found out who they were. Officially at least. And I was going to wait to introduce them until that section, but I'll just do it now. Tomoe Takamatsu on vocals, played by the very cute Hina Yomiya. Anan Chihaya on rhythm guitar, played by the very nerdy Rin Tateishi. Rana Kaname on lead guitar, played by the very talented Hina Aoki. Soyo Nagasaki on the bass, played by the very emotional Mika Kohinata. And finally on drums, Taki Shina, played by the very angry and hardworking Koko Hayashi. And let me tell you, these are the best ways to describe each lady in the band. Their music, in my opinion, is a light rock style and is very passionate. The vocalist really gives her all, and sometimes she just straight up yells at us. The word MyGo is a direct translation of a lost child, which describes most of the animated girls very well. But it might also be a reference to the band being the 5th live performing group, Go being the Japanese word for the number 5. That could just be a coincidence though. So let's move on to their career. The first song to feature them technically came out in 2021, Lioness Pride, a collaboration song with 5th generation HoloLive VTuber Botan Shishiro. I don't think this song has ever been officially released outside of the game, at least not the version with MyGo, as Botan has their own original version as well. In 2022, their story really begins. They had their first live, We're Screaming Here, great name, at Shibuya Duo Music Exchange, the same place Roselia had their first. I recognize those pillars. Also, Mika from Morphonica was the drummer for most of the show, as Coco also had a pre-gen event on the same day. She was able to show up near the end though. The second live, titled Embrace As It Is, was just 2 months later, and then 2 months after that was the Bangdream Big Garupa event, where MyGo was the opening act, only performing 1 song, their debut track, Mayoi Uta, which was first performed back at their debut live. When this song released, it was coupled with a Namonaki. Then just a day after that big Bandori event was a big Bushiroad event to celebrate 15 years of the company, and MyGo was once again the opening act. If all that wasn't enough, about 2 weeks later they had their 3rd live, Live with a Voice, the first one that I personally watched. And the last thing for 2022 was 2 digital songs, Sensai Hyome and Silhouette Dance. That second one probably being my favorite song of theirs. These would later both be coupled with their second single, Otoichie, which properly released in 2023. Early in this year, there was the Bangdream 11th Live, having 2 joint shows between the 4 bands. And MyGo opened both days with the same 3 songs, but day 2 was in the reverse order. They had their 3rd single, Hotoshizuku, coupled with Shiori and Tanabe, which all sound like human names to me. Other lives will include their 4th, In the Sound of Moving Forward. This was a big live for them, debuting Hitoshizuku, but also revealing who they are, as their identities were a mystery all the way up until this point. Although people who went to the lives and really kept up with rookie talent in the industry were able to figure out who most of them were prior to the official reveal. About 4 months later was their 5th show, titled Don't Get Lost, very fitting considering their name meaning. But this was also the first show having their faces shown to us for the entire live. Also, just a great performance overall, even giving us some acoustic performances of like 3 different songs. It was a nice change of pace. About 3 months after that was the Bangdream 12th Live, where MyGo would perform on day 2, and their show was called A Small Moment, giving us another acoustic version of a track, but also Yomiya singing a solo song. A song that's not usually sang by MyGo, but also not a cover. It's a song by a different in-universe band that I will cover in the lore section. This song actually debuted in their anime, having a full season dedicated to them. Being called Bangdream, it's MyGo, and in my humble opinion, this is the greatest idol anime season ever, aside from LoveLive Sunshine, of course. Also, if you even consider Bangdream as an idol franchise, I personally think of it more as a music show rather than idol. But anyway, with an anime, we usually get lots of new music. For this show, we got 4 new tracks from the girls, aside from Hitoshizuku and Shiori, which served as the opening and the ending. The new tracks were Heki Tenbanso, Utakotoba, Melody, and Haruhikage. That last one technically also originally from that band that I will talk about later. As for MyGo, they had their first album, Maisekiha, having a lot of songs that I already mentioned, but the two new tracks were Noroshi and Utaimasho Narashimasho. Those are some crazy words and fairly difficult to say. Aside from all that goodness, MyGo also opened day one of Roselia's Farbay concert. Huge year for them, holy. Also for the mobile game, they were added in this year for the 6.5 year anniversary on the Japanese server. On to this year of 2024, they were added into the Taiwanese and Chinese servers for the game, but then the producer released a statement explaining that MyGo will not be receiving any full band events and girls band party until spring of next year, as their story is intended to first develop through the compilation movies that come out later this year, but also in the Ave Mujica series, which doesn't come out until next year. So let's continue on to music. Fourth single, Sasurai, coupled with Kaiso, but also Kokyu, which was technically released digitally by itself in 2023. Then a little over a month ago was their fifth single, Panorama, coupled with Kokoro and Refrain. As for lives, their first tour, a ZEP tour, having 4 shows between February and April, titled Wandering Desire, also pretty fitting for their name, as wandering and being lost usually go hand in hand. After this tour was another first for them though, as they had their first joint live, with Pop and Party of all groups, titled Divide Unite. Huge honor for them, and they must have been so nervous. In my opinion, however, I feel this first joint concert should have been with Ave Mujica, again for reasons I will explain in the lore section, and then the live with Pop and Party should have been a few years later and could have been the real passing of the torch event. This can still happen of course, but to me it just makes more sense to do it the way I explained it. Anyway, they have more shows this year. In July was their 6th live at Carrying the Scenery I Found. Translation might be a little off there, but this was their first 2-day show and my personal favorite concert of theirs. Actually, just overall a new favorite of mine between all the groups that I watch. That concert showed me the most in-character moment I have ever seen on a live show. When they were showing off their costumes, Coco as Taki was pissed as usual, Yomiya as Tomori was a nervous wreck, and Aoki as Rana didn't even move. Really good stuff. Still not finished for this year though. Later, in December, right before Christmas, they will have their 7th live, which doesn't seem to have a title yet. Then sometime in the winter will be their 2nd album, which also doesn't have a title, though I'm sure it's coming very soon. Next year, in January, they've already got another show lined up. This one will be very special, a joint live with a non-Bangdream group, that being Togenashi Togaari from the series Girls Band Cry, the first band to do so. Poppypa did have the joint live with Silent Siren, but they're not from an anime. So yeah, if you needed any more evidence that they're the new face of the franchise. For some more context here, Rosalia has been around since like 2017, and they've had about 17 labeled concerts. MyGo has been around since 2022, and they've already had 12, with another 2 that haven't even happened yet. Also, 20 original songs. I'd like to say they are hard workers, which they are, but they're kind of really overworked and maybe even overpushed. But hey, hopefully they're making a lot of money. Aside from the main Bangdream events, they've been at other yearly festivals like this year's Japan Jam and Lisani, last year's Animax, and then Anisama last year as well. And they'll be there again for this year's event, which is probably happening in just a few days from now. Yomiya is actually featured in this year's music video, though it's voice only. Rin and Mika also represented them at Billy World this year, but I don't think there was any singing, just a talk event. Then aside from original music, they naturally have covers. 5 official covers, Modoku ga Oso and Non-Breath Oblige being Hatsune Miku songs, Boku wa from Dangers in My Heart Season 2, and then White Noise being from Tokyo Revengers. Then they have 16 Otate Mita, which means I tried to sing, so I guess in lore these are failed covers, or more so just Tomori only covers. Some standouts here are Teardrops from Pop and Party, and then a couple of Hatsune Miku songs. I guess there's also Todashi Shiku Naranai from the Promised Neverland movie, and Koishiteru Jibun Sora Aserunda from Dangers in My Heart Season 2. Again, their lead singer is the main character of the show, so I'm sure that plays a big role in why they have 2 songs from this series. Lastly, during their first few lives, they covered other Poppypa songs, Time Lapse, Happy Happy Party, and Yes Bangdream. Well, I guess there's one more little career thing since I don't know where else to put it. They have a weekly radio show, MyGo Center, on their YouTube channel, usually having 2 or 3 of the members host. Chosen at random, so they say, but there was like 2 in a row that had all 5 of them, and these even have English subtitles starting from episode 41. The older ones might even get subbed in the future. I doubt it though. Also, I don't really have any song recommendations. They're all kind of the same to me, but that's not in a bad way. Just like they're all pretty damn good. I did say Silhouette Dance is my favorite, and the opening for the anime is pretty iconic, so check those out for sure. Then the 5 main singles, I guess, since those are meant to be the big songs, especially the debut track. Onto some facts about the live action group. They have the smallest age gap within any live performing Bandori group. Hina Aoki being the eldest, born in January 2000, and Koko Hayashi the youngest, born in May 2002. Both Hinas and Mika being born in the year 2000 actually. And in general, I think the age gap is the smallest in any band in the franchise. They seem to be the closest in heights as well. Pretty sure the tallest compared to the shortest is like a 7 centimeter difference. And then the age gap between the youngest and oldest is only a little over 2 years. Also, just to clarify, Aoki is the oldest and shortest, while Koko is the youngest and tallest. I love it when it turns out like that. Aoki and Tataishi are both in the Hibiki agency, and they all come from different hometowns. Outside of Bangdream, Koko used to be in a Seiyuu unit known as Run Girls Run as part of the Wake Up Girls franchise, which also led to her having a role in Kirato Pri-chan, which she performs as in live action. But then she's also the newer voice actress to portray Setsuna Yuki over in the LoveLive franchise, being with Niji Gasaki and their sub-unit Azuna. Yomiya recently joined Umamusume Pretty Derby, though she has not had her live action debut yet, but she's also just the star pupil within the group, being one of the new it girls in the industry, for now at least. Aoki is a live performer over in the Revue Starlight series, part of the Ziegfeld Institute of Music, specifically their junior high branch. As for Rin, no other idol series, but she is a ring announcer for Stardom Wrestling. And with Mika, well, she hasn't really branched out yet. A really cool fact about this group is that both Koko and Yomiya have won the Rookie Actress Award at the Seiyuu Awards, in different years of course. I'm pretty sure MyGO is the only band to have 2 members who have won individual awards like this. Also, if you haven't noticed, they have 2 Hinas, the only Bandori group to have 2 members with the same name. But honestly, in the whole anime idol side of the industry, they're the only group that I can think of where this is the case. The leads of G4DJ Happy Round have Haruka Nishio and Haruka Memura, but Nishio always goes by Yuka. So I guess that's the only other group that comes close to having the same situation. Also, Idolmaster and Umamusume have like 50 plus girls in each group, so I don't think that's really fair to compare. The last 2 things for the live action group, again, as I said earlier, they pull out the acoustic sometimes at lives. I think Poppin' Party is the only other group to do this, and at the end of the show, they usually toss out a bunch of guitar picks to the audience. I think that's really cool and a good way for the fans to have memories of the show. Facts for the animated ladies include Rana being the youngest and shortest, being the only member in middle school. Soyo is the tallest and oldest, while Taki is middle in terms of height and age. I feel this was 100% on purpose. It would be way too crazy of a coincidence if that happened naturally. Then Tomori and Anan are the only 2 that go to the same school, though Rana goes to the junior high version of Taki's school. So next year they would hypothetically be at the same school. Just like Popipa, the initials of the members, excluding the vocalist, can form the word star. Then as always, their family names are named after landmarks. In this case, Takamatsu, Chihaya, Kaname, Nagasaki, and Shina are all areas in the Toshima Ward in Tokyo. A quick disclaimer before I continue, a lot of the facts I will be going over is stuff that happened in the anime. I wouldn't exactly call them spoilers, especially because most of the big stuff happens very early on, and I will be leaving out some details. But yeah, if you plan on watching the show, maybe do that and come back when you're finished, and see if I mentioned some stuff that you missed during your viewing. So time for that other band that I kept mentioning. In lore, half of MyGO, Tomori, Soyo, and Taki used to be in a different band with 2 Ave Mujika members called Krychik, or maybe it's pronounced Krychik. As for MyGO's origins, it really began when Anan transferred to Hanaoka Girls' School, noticing students were forming bands, so she wanted to do so as well. She meets Tomori and Taki at school, who used to be in the other band together, and then she meets Soyo at a live house. After Anan mentions her interest in Tomori, it piques Soyo's interest, so they form a band, not long after stumbling across Rana, who also joins, forming the full band of Lost Girls. So moving on to the final section, the girls themselves. Again, quite a lot of anime facts here. Anan has the image color of pink. She handles the social media account for the group, and she also handles the band's costumes, which she calls Anan Tokyo as the brand. During middle school, she was a student council president and was known as a popular and talented girl. However, she had no close friends and everyone referred to her by her last name. Then near the end of 9th grade, she studied abroad in the UK. Anan was the only member who had no experience with her instrument prior to MyGO's formation. And finally, since she was the stereotypical transfer student, she basically served as the main character for the anime. Rana is the green image color member, and she has 2 different colored eyes, which is actually a really fun touch. Her hobby is playing with cats, and Taki even refers to her as the stray cat. She's the granddaughter of the former owner of Space, an old live house featured heavily in the first season of the franchise. After the place closed down, Rana felt she lost the place that made her feel at home, leading to her to try to practice with other bands but never staying long enough with any of them as she would quickly lose interest. And last for her, she's a very calm lady, serving as yet another kudere within the franchise like Roselia's Yukina and Morphonica's Rudy. Taki's image color is a lighter purple. She is a stern member of the group, but also the composer. She works with Saya and Kasumi from Poppin' Party and is classmates with both Uika and Umuri from Ave Mujika. Those two members not being the ones from her former band, by the way, which is another nice touch. While in middle school, she actually went to Hanaoka, but upon entering high school, she decided to go to Hanasakigawa instead, probably to avoid seeing her old bandmates. Despite this fact, and also the fact that she is so serious and has a non-caring nature, she is very protective of Tomori and has a major soft spot for her. And lastly, she has been given the nickname Riki by Anan and Rana, which she doesn't like at all, but a cool fact about this is that it's the more normal way of reading the kanji that makes up her name. Soyo has the yellow image color. She's the only member of the band to go to a completely different school, the same one as all the Morphonica girls and Ave Mujika's Mutsumi, who used to be in Crychick with Soyo. She actually took that band's disbandment the hardest and led to her low-key being the villain of the season, or at the very least just trying to stir up trouble. She has a very two-faced personality, but it's mostly because she doesn't want to be alone and has trouble sharing her emotions. She was actually born with the family name Ichinose, but changed it to Nagasaki, which is her mother's family name. I would assume her parents split up, and that's why she did this. And she is also in her school's brass band club, playing the contrabass, that super big looking violin that you stand while playing. Finally, Tomori, this sweet little angel, her image color is a light blue. Ever since she was young, she felt like she didn't belong anywhere and had difficulty making friends due to her awkward personality, also claiming to always be a step behind everyone else. This manifested even more when Crychick broke up, with Tomori blaming herself for it. To combat this, she often goes to planetariums and aquariums to calm down and find comfort. And there's not really much else to say about her, unfortunately. She likes to collect things. I feel that a lot. And despite her very low speaking voice, she has a very loud, powerful singing voice, on par with all the other god-tier vocalists in this franchise. And yeah, I don't really have a smooth ending for this, so that's the ending. MyGO very quickly went from a group I didn't care about at all to being a strong contender for one of my top 10. They really have done so much in their short time, and although I do want to see more and more of them, I do hope they're getting the rest they need, especially Yomiya and Coco, who seem to just be very busy all the time. Also, don't be surprised when they win the Singing or Music Award at the Seiyuu Awards within the next 3 years. I'd be very shocked if they didn't win it, but then again, Trisale still has yet to win it as well. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something new. If so, please do leave me a like, and definitely join me in the next one about every LoveLive Seiyuu that has a photo book. I look forward to seeing you there, and for sure bring some water, because some of those girls over there are just crazy.